Spartz, joining us now live to discuss. Indiana Republican Congresswoman Victoria Spartz. She's also the first Ukrainian-born member of the U.S. Congress. We also have with us California Democratic Congresswoman Sarah Jacobs. Welcome to both of you, Congresswomen. You've just returned from a trip to Ukraine as part of a congressional delegation. Congresswoman Jacobs, let me start with you. The U.S. continues to warn that an attack is imminent. The Kremlin today accused the Biden administration of stoking hysteria. Based on what you saw on the ground, is the U.S. playing this up, or do you think an attack is imminent?
I think it's very clear that Russia is planning for an invasion, is putting troops on the border, is bringing supplies to the border in such a way that would enable them to do an invasion very quickly. And I think it's important that we and our allies in Europe stand ready to deter that aggression and make sure that Russia understands the costs if they do decide to go ahead with that invasion.
Congresswoman Spartz, you've been quite critical of the Biden administration's posture towards Russia during the standoff. Do you think the threat of sending U.S. troops to the front lines to help defend Ukraine, do you think that should be on the table? Biden has removed it from the table.
Well, I think, to keep stability and peace, we remember the famous phrase of President Reagan, right? You need to have peace through strength. And I think that is very important for us to show that we mean what we say and we'll do it. It's important for us to not just do the talk, to walk the walk. And we have commitment to our NATO allies. And I think a lot of them got very nervous with our debacle in Afghanistan. And I think it's important to show that we'll stand with our allies. And I'm glad that we were able to go and do it on the bipartisan basis. It's important for us to show we're an independent, we always say, we're co-equal branch of government and first among equals, to show that United States Congress will stand with people who are fighting for freedoms and with our allies across the ocean.
Congresswoman Jacobs, a rift has emerged, as you know, between President Biden and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky over how imminent a Russian attack is. Biden says it's imminent. Zelensky says no. Do you think this is only about keeping the Ukrainian people calm, or is there something else going on?
Listen, I was in meetings with the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense with President Zelensky. I think our intelligence assessments, our assessment of the Russian plan and motives is aligned and is the same. Like any democratic leader, President Zelensky has a responsibility to try and maintain calm. He's very concerned about what Russia could do even without an invasion in terms of economic costs to the country of Ukraine. But it's clear that if an invasion happens, the Ukrainians will be ready, and we're working closely with them to make sure that that's the case.
Congresswoman Spartz, the Biden administration has threatened exacting brutal sanctions if Russia invades Ukraine, including on Russian individuals. How concerned are you that there might be a fallout from such sanctions on the American economy, including but not limited to gas and energy prices?
Well, I think, if you think about it, we already have our energy policy brought a lot of problems and really national security issues around the world. So I think that is a big, really, problem that we have right now. Our policy, European policy, now made, Europe dependent on countries like Russia, and it's a big problem to them. So I think our economy is not as dependent, as some European economies, and they will have to start thinking about it, who their friends are and how they're going to mitigate risk and diversify in the long run. But in the short term, I think we're doing what we can to try to help Europe, but unfortunately we were not, prepared, and they were not prepared to address it more effectively, But I think we should have a serious discussion, and Russia needs to understand that they're going to pay a significant cost if they are going to, expand this aggression. We cannot, repeat what we did in 1938, and I think UK understands the situation too. I'm glad to see that they're exercising some leadership too, and I think we can do that too.
Congresswoman Jacobs, do you see any realistic scenario in which Putin backs down?
I do. I think that we and President Biden is working on exactly the right approach to make sure President Putin understands the high costs if he does decide to invade, to work with our partners and allies in NATO and the EU and across the world to make sure that those punishments, those sanctions are done in concert in a multilateral way, while also working to provide a strong diplomatic off-ramp to try and de-escalate the situation, to try and work with Russia to find a nonviolent way to address this conflict and to get to a resolution.
Congresswoman Spartz, you must have heard some of the voices in your party that are asking why the United States is siding with Ukraine instead of siding with Russia. We hear it on Fox. We hear some individuals in the Freedom Caucus and the House GOP saying this. What's your answer to them as to why it's important, in your view, for the U.S. to stand with Ukraine?
Well, I think, there is a legitimate frustration of our base with how a lot of international organizations been behaving, and some of our allies, and I think they put themselves in a tough situation, and so it's a legitimate concern for us. But I think in the short term, this situation can escalate significantly. It's a serious issue, and we have to deal with that, more effectively, and we have to be able to, to support countries across the ocean, because we can say that it is now not our problem until it becomes our problem. And United States of America and strengths of our country, it's the stability for the whole world, and we need to be there if we want to have peace and prosperity around the world.
Congresswoman Jacobs and Spartz, thanks to both of you. Really appreciate it. And we don't do a lot of bipartisan interviews these days. It's nice to have one, so thanks so much.